In alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah. We're continuing with the hadith from Sahih Muslim, Kitab al-Salat, which is the book of prayer. Today we're going to speak about how the Imam, whenever you are leading the prayer, you want to keep the prayer short and sweet. In other words, you don't want to be long with the prayer. And also we're going to speak about how the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not just sent to teach us the Quran, but the jinn too. The jinn know the Quran just like we do. Okay? Let's look at this first hadith here. This is a hadith where Ibn Abbas is trying to give the meaning behind a few verses of the Quran. He says, when Allah says in the Quran, move your tongue. He said this verse was sent down when Jabir brought the revelation to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was trying to teach him the Quran. And when Jabir was trying to teach him the Quran, the Prophet was moving his lips at the same time to try to memorize it instantly. And it was hard for him to learn it that way. So that's when Allah sent down the verses saying, don't rush it. Move your tongue, slowly. Listen. Listen to what Jabril says first and then repeat it after him. And then wait a few minutes to allow it to settle in your heart and then listen to the next thing that Jabril says. So when Jabril came the next time, the prophet was quiet. He wasn't talking trying to recite it with him. He wasn't trying to recite the Quran with Jabril. He sat there and listened to him first. And then after he listened to what he said, then he repeated it, and that's how he memorized it. So what do you learn from this? You learn from this, guys, when you're learning the Quran, you want to listen to the reciter. Listen to the reciter recite it over and over, and then you repeat it after him. And then that's how you can memorize it better. You look at some people, they're all reciting the Quran together. No, wait a minute. Let the teacher recite it first. The teacher may recite it several times, and then you repeat it after him. Then you repeat it after him. And then you repeat it after him, and then you say it to by yourself so he can correct you. So that's what these verses are about, how we should listen to learn the correct way to recite or pronounce the Quran. Have the reciter repeat it over and over, and then we try to say it, allow him to correct us. That's how you learn. Okay? And also, guys, after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would learn a part of the Quran, he would immediately go and teach it to the companions. One day, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was reciting the Quran during the Fajr prayer, some jinn happened to walk past, and they heard what he was saying. The jinn at this point were trying to figure out why is it that were no longer able to eavesdrop on the conversations of the angels. Before the Prophet Muhammad received the prophethood, the jinn used to listen in. They would go up to the lowest part of the heavens and listen in and eavesdrop on what the angels were talking about. But they were now no longer able to do it. Every time they tried to go up and eavesdrop, Allah would send a meteorite to knock them down. And they didn't know why this was happening. So this day, when the Prophet was leading the companions in the Fajr prayer, he was reciting out loud parts of the Quran, the jinn happened to listen. They said, oh my God, listen to this man. They said, oh my God, he's talking about something great, something good. So they went back and told the other jinn, oh my God, this is why we cannot eavesdrop on the angels anymore. Allah has sent a messenger, a prophet, and he's speaking about some good things. He's speaking the words of Allah. And so after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had finished leading the people in the prayer, Allah had revealed to him that the jinn had listened in on him. And so that's when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam left, because some jinn came to him and said, teach us what you have been taught by Allah. And so ever since then, guys, whenever Allah would send down a verse of the Quran or some words for us, not only would the Prophet teach it to the companions, but he would afterwards go and teach the jinn too. So thus the jinn are held accountable, just like we are. On the day of judgment, we will all have to stand before Allah to be held accountable. The jinn will be included. They have free will just like we do. They are the descendants of Iblis. And only man and jinn have free will. So they have the ability to choose between evil or good just like we do. So they too will stand before Allah to be judged. Those of them that obeyed Allah will be in paradise right along with us. Those of them who disobey will be in the hellfire with us too. So these hadiths are the proofs that the jinn are held accountable like us, that the jinn understand the Quran too, guys. They know the Quran too. And let me tell you something about it. The good jinn are the ones who listen to Allah and try to live their lives following their fiqh regulations. And they have different fiqh regulations. For example, the jinn, they eat the dung of the camels and all of that. They have their own fiqh regulations, just like we have our own fiqh regulations too. But they will be held accountable just like us. The good jinn obey Allah. But guess what? The good jinn don't come in contact with us, because Allah has commanded the jinn to stay away from us, because they can see us but we cannot see them, and they can cause harm to us. So good jinn, they obey Allah and stay away from us. They may sit outside the mosque and listen to a khutbah. They might be outside right now listening to me, but they're not going to come close to me, because the temptation to harm me is so great for them. If you have jinn hanging around you, they are evil. They're the bad ones. They're trying to destroy you, trying to hurt you. So don't think that good jinn are sitting there with you and being your friends. Good jinn are away from you. Okay? Because they obey Allah. They know that they can hurt you. They can't resist the urge to hurt us. So anyway, just to let you guys know, these hadiths are the proofs that the jinn, they have the Quran was sent down not only to us but to them to abide by too. They're supposed to be following, the Sunnah just like we are. You got some jinn out there who are Christians, some out there who are Jews, but they're all supposed to be Muslim just like us, because the Prophet Muhammad was sent as the last prophet for all mankind and jinn. Any jinn that's not following the way of Islam will be in the hellfire along with their father Iblis. Okay? So that's what those hadiths are speaking about there. Okay, and also guys, a word of advice to the Imam. The Prophet taught us that whenever the Imam is leading the people in prayer, you don't want to make the prayer hard on the people by reciting long verses. Remember, we talked about how the only Quran that you have to recite in your prayer to be accepted is al-Fatiha. You don't have to recite no other verses of the Quran after that. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam led the people in prayer. He recited in the first 2 rakats of the Dhuhr and Asr prayer Surah Fatiha. And then he recited 2 other surahs. Sometimes he would recite loud enough for us to hear what he was saying. And he would prolong the first rakat over the second. Okay, so here you can see that it is, if you want to recite other Quranic verses in your prayer, you can. But you only have to recite al-Fatiha. Okay? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to recite in every rakat of the first two rakats of the noon about 30 verses. And in the last two rakats, 15 verses. In other words, here you can see from that hadith, you don't have to recite an entire surah either. You can just recite a few words from Quranic verses. The bottom line is you don't want to make the prayer too long where the people hate praying with you. We have this hadith here. The people of Kufa complained to Umar about Sa'id, and they told him that he would prolong the prayer. They hated praying with him because he would recite entire surahs of the Quran and the people would be tired. So Umar sent for Sa'id and he said, "Is this true?" And he said, "Oh, Umar, I only do what the Prophet did. I make them stand a little bit longer in the first two rakats and I shorten the second two. And I only recite short verses." Okay, so that's what we do. The Imam should only recite short verses. The last two rakats should be shorter than the first two because people have things to do. You don't want to make the prayer too long because people got jobs to get to. They have children that need to be attended to, food cooking on the stove. They might have to use the bathroom. You got people who are old and sick and can't stand for long. So again, the Imam, if he is going to recite other verses of the Quran or other surahs of the Quran, make them short. You don't want to stand there reciting Surah Baqarah. Making the people stand there for hours. And all these hadiths show how the Prophet just used different verses. For example, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam led us in the morning prayer. He began Surah Mu'minun, but when he came to the mention of Moses and Aaron, he coughed and then he stopped. So here you can see the Prophet did not recite the entire surah. He only recited a few sentences of it. Abu Barza said the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to recite in the morning prayer of 60 or 100 verses. You don't want to be one of those imams that the people don't want to pray behind. For example, Mu'ad led his people in the night prayer, and he made it so long. The people were so angry. After the prayer was over, the people confronted him and they told him that he was a hypocrite because he made them stand so long while he recited all these long verses of the Quran or surahs of the Quran. So one of the people went to the Prophet and complained about what Mu'ad had done. The man told the Prophet, "I don't want to pray with him anymore. He kept us up all night. My legs was hurting. My back was hurting." So the Prophet became angry. And he went to Mu'ad. He said, "Mu'ad, what is your problem? Do you want the people to be put to trial? You want the people to not pray ever? Because when you make the religion hard on people, you make them not want to do what they're supposed to do." He said, when you lead the people in prayer, make it short. Do not sit there and make the prayer long. Recite short verses or short surahs of the Quran. You don't want to sit there and go through the whole Surah Baqarah. And also another example, one of the companions said that he remembered the Prophet led them in prayer and the Prophet recited by the fig and the olive, which was short. He recited his Fatiha and then he did the fig and the olive, which is something short. So again, don't make, as an imam, don't make the prayer, people hate to pray. Don't make it so the people hate to perform the prayer because you made it a burden on them. We don't want you to show off. Don't show off your recitation to us. Show off to Allah by being a good Muslim and obeying Allah's command and not making it hard on others. So what are some of the lessons we learned from today's hadith? Well, we learned, first of all, that when learning the Quran, listen to the reciter. Let the reciter recite over and over and you listen. And then after, when you think you've grasped what he's saying, then you repeat after him. Also, we learn from today that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not only sent to mankind but also to jinn as well. The jinn learned the Quran just like we. They have to live and follow the Sunnah just like we. And also you learn that the Prophet used to meet with the jinn on a regular basis to teach them the Quran and the Sunnah as well. Also you learn that the Fajr prayers recited out loud, because that's how the jinn knew about the Prophet Muhammad. They heard him reciting the Fajr prayer out loud. And again, no prayer is accepted without al-Fatiha. But you do not, I repeat, you do not have to recite any other Quran after it. But if you choose to recite other Quranic verses, make it short. Short but sweet. And again, as Imam, you must not overburden the people by prolonging the prayer, making them hate to want to come to the mosque to pray. Keep it short and keep it sweet. Does everybody understand? On that note, we'll stop right here for today. Tomorrow, I will give you a quiz to cover the hadiths that we discussed today. If there is something that you do not understand or something that is not clear, please ask. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka.